Now, of course, just about all these things that they're talking about in here are very much around the paid version of Canva. So there's not really much for those of you who don't pay for Canva. But look, this is now a suite which kind of replaces a lot of other things. Like for me, it's replaced all the Adobe suite. That was the first thing it did. But now it's also starting to replace some of the AI tools I'd normally use, right down to not ChatGPT perhaps, but some of the other ones like the content creation ones, the photo creation, the video creation, because it's doing a lot of that sort of stuff. So what we're going to look through is a bit about, some of those new features that have come up. We're going to look at playing around with images in Canva, like a bit of editing. We're going to look at videos, presenting, websites, and the new Canva AI that's not quite released yet, but we'll get a bit of a look at it so you can get a bit of a head start on what is coming in the next release, coming in the next few months. So what's new in the Droptober releases? Well, we're looking at Dreamlab, which I'm going to give you a look at. It's AI things. There's advanced effects, which are not AI, but they are advanced effects on things like transitions between screens and presentations and videos. There's some interactive charts. There's already been some charts in Canva that you may not have known about, but we've got some interactive ones that allow you to add your own data and form these really nice looking charts. There's now the introduction of some popular music. No Taylor Swift, unfortunately, but some popular music in there for you. And we've also got a whole bunch of diverse stock photos have now been added through Poststock and Stock, sorry, people are color stock. And then Disney has arrived as well on Canva. So for those of you who are on the free version of Canva, you might see a reason for you to upgrade. For those of you who are not, hey, at least you can dream and hopefully one day this will become part of your budget as well. So let's stay looking at images first. So what can we do in images? Look, I'm actually not going to go to images first. I want to go do straight into what some of these new things are. So the first thing I want to show you really is a bit about Artlist. Now, Artlist is a way of telling stories through Canva graphics in a more cinematic style. And what they've basically done is given you a whole bunch of templates to work with. So if we look in the collections, say for a sustainable fashion business, we can see collections of new templates that are very specifically geared to be a lot more cinematic in their style, a lot more classy, a bit of a step up from where they were before. So instead of just really bad stock photography and stock video, we've now got a lot more nice stuff like this and given it in really nice templates that you can now go and customize yourself with much more diverse models and just better quality cinematic styles of video in there as well, because video has become such an amazing big part of what we're doing. So let's see if we can customize this template, and you'll sort of get the idea of, just like all Canva templates, you can play with it, change colors. Let me change that color to maybe, let's just say, more of a yellowy orange. There we go. I can then go into the second one of these, change that onto the yellow orange as well that I like. Maybe change the writing now that it doesn't stand out quite so much and make that a little darker. Now we're still maintaining that look and feel, but we're getting more of the look and the color that we want to put into maybe what is your brand colors. Now, one of the things you can do in here as well, you are not stuck with the videos that are in there. Just like all Canva templates, you can add in the parts that you want to add in. Also remember too, if you want to highlight lots of things together and change their color, just hold down the Shift key and you can do that. Same with that little graphic. I can change that just on its own to something darker as well. Now, of course, I might want not that in there. So I can go to Elements, and that's where you're going to find everything from videos to whatnot. I can go beach and go videos, and it's going to show me a bunch of videos from the beach. So I might want to do this one with just the waves. So I'll just add that one in there, and now I've replaced that video. So if I now play back this video, let's see. So now it's got my changes in there. I can even change all those different fonts and that. Now, there's nothing new in there apart from this is just a collection of much nicer stock videos, and I guess designs which are a bit more contemporary and certainly going with that new boho theme that's very, very popular with a lot of design right now, especially these strange new scriptish kind of squishy styles of fonts as well, which are really great. They've added a lot more diversity in what we're seeing in there. If we go to art list again, and we can see that there's some other things that maybe are not quite so boho, something like brands and creative stuff like this might be a bit brighter and more vivid, a bit more brand friendly to what you're doing, perhaps. The video here that they've created, which has got multiple different slides in it. So if we go and customize that template, what we can do is replace each one. This is a video. So this is a full 9 scene video. You can change any of these and just change it to something else that you think might be appropriate. So I'll bring that back down to size so it fits on the screen. There we go. I want to change that to a color that's going to stand out a bit more. And look, all your normal effects that you normally get are still in here to be able to use. So I want to just lift that slightly with a shadow. I can. And then it's just really a case of having these much better videos, which are much more high quality and a lot more artsy than what you would see in the regular stock video collections you get. Now, naturally, this is all premium stuff. So this is not for the freebies, unfortunately. You'll notice that the little crown is on all these videos I saw over here. That just means that those are for pro only. But on the left here, you'll see that these are all free ones in the video. So I can look for art list as a an artist in what they're doing. So if I want to look for videos by art list, usually I can look in here and it will give me those. Now it's given me one of them, but it hasn't given me all of them. So I can sort of replace that in there. And in here, I can see that the video is from Artlist. So this one's a free one. I can go Artlist. That brings me up all the videos that Artlist has. So that's how you find out if you want to like go to a particular artist or a particular provider that provides really good quality videos that you like, then you can find all those in there. And Artlist does provide a lot of videos. Like there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos in there. But as you've noticed, very few of those are free. So they will be in the premium version. Now, I know that there was a lot of trouble with Canva putting up their prices just a couple of months ago. That was mainly for the Teams product. The regular Pro version isn't. You can still share with other people in your team. It just means that you don't get that team spaces like you would in that upgraded Teams one. Although I do believe they rolled back some of those prices because there was such a big outcry about that as well. So that's a look at Artlist. If we want to look at a little bit further, POC stock or people of color stock is an example where they're showing a lot more diversity in the models they're showing. So you're seeing a lot more people of color, people of different racial backgrounds, rather than just the usual blonde white girls sitting in a cafe laughing at lettuce style that we're very used to getting when it comes to stock photography and stock videos. So yes, all of these ones are, as you can see, got the crown on. They're all pro, but they give you a lot more diversity in there. There's a lot more African Americans, South Americans. It is a little bit very American. So there's a lot more American. But, you know, we're a multicultural society as well. So we do have a lot of people from different backgrounds. You notice women with hijabs, people with skin conditions, vitiligo, people from Native American, LGBTQIQ, you know, the alphabet people, lots of those as well. And people from different religious backgrounds, as well as different sizes. It's not just all skinny people. We've actually got people who are plus sized with, you know, here we go, with broken teeth. It's just so much more diverse. And that stuff you can get. Again, you do need to have the pro version of that for access to those things. So what you can do is when you're looking for a particular thing, so if you want to look for somebody who is giving you POC stock stuff, that is just an app you can look for. Or you can just follow this and you'll see updates for it as well. So with all this, with POC stock, you can then go to their website, see more about them. But in Canva, you can just search for things that are in your elements that are by POC stock. All right, so the teacher work kit's probably not going to be doing much for you. The small business work kit is a bit more of a, you know, a toolkit of things that you might find useful for your business, but really have a play around with that yourself. It's not really that useful for me. I've got a lot of other tools that do that for me, but you may find it's good for you. Magic Media is really interesting because it means you can just do a lot more stuff that's generated by AI. So for instance, over here, I can generate images, graphics, or videos. So I want to generate a graphic of a podcast icon that is pink and quite elaborate and floral. Helps if I can type, right? Elaborate and floral. Now you get a certain amount of these credits per month. You get 500 credits, which basically is a credit is one generation. So let me generate the graphics of this podcast icon that's floral and elaborate. So it's now playing around with that, starting to create it. What I can do is create a bit of room over here in my projects so I can get rid of all that. Come on, back to my magic. Where did my magic go? Now, this is where things do get a bit buggy. So that's when you start to go, oh, where is my stuff gone? So in back, I just go Magic Media down the left-hand side, and that's where you'll find that. So as it's continuing to do that, it's now starting to come up with my great little graphics. So I'll just zoom in there so you can actually see what those graphics look like. They've come up exactly what I thought they would. Elaborate, pink. This one's not so much pink, but pink, elaborate, floral. It's kind of nailed the brief. So if I wanted an icon that really was very customized to what I want, you could do that. Now, yes, you can do that sort of thing in ChatGPT as well. But this is one tool that's now doing all of those things. And you're not going to use, I guess, 500 different generations of graphic generation every month. Like, for instance, I use Midjourney for a lot of my graphics and a couple of other tools as well. I'm paying $10 a month just for Midjourney, and I probably use it 6 or 7 times a month. Now, it does sort of pay for itself because I'm getting original artworks that otherwise normally wouldn't get, but it does give you the option to do that little bit more. The other thing is too, you can generate images that don't have to be icons that are in a certain style. So if you want to make something very dreamy, very anime-like, watercolor photo. Let's see all the different styles. Minimalist, woody, like it's a wood cutting, like it's being cut out of wood. Concept art, retro wave, psychedelic from the 1960s and 70s, lead lighting, stained glass, or paper cut. I like the idea of paper cut. So let's create a paper cut of a horse in a green paddock, making this up on the spot, with a rider who appears to be a swan. I know this is not really generally the stuff you would want to do, but it does do fairly regular stuff too. And what I'm going to do once we generate this fantastical stuff, we're going to generate a few things that are a bit more realistic for what you might need in your documents. And that's in the paper cut style. That looks sensational. It's like you could design Christmas decorations out of this, right? So it does create some really nice styles, particularly when you're not using people. And this is where the Canva image generation for me tends to get a little bit lost, is when it's trying to do people. So let's go a family having a picnic in the park in, let's just say, Adelaide in spring time in Australia. So we're giving it some specifics in there. I don't want a paper cut style. So what I'll do is go out of that into regular. And let's see what it's going to, no, none. Thank you. Generate again. So let's see this family having a picnic in the park in Adelaide in springtime in Australia in a regular format, not in a paper cut style, to see what it comes up with. Now, what you'll see is that it comes up with some pretty nice stuff. But the problem I find with Canva image generation, it is getting better, is that it just doesn't handle faces particularly well. Like, you probably see what this little girl's face looks like. It's kind of mushed up. These teeth are just going really, really wrong. Another little girl whose face is really mushed up, and these kids look like, creatures from another planet. It doesn't do people well. And I think that's almost deliberate because they don't really want you to be creating things that might be copyrights of people's faces, perhaps. So you can go to a lot of other tools that do that a lot better. For instance, if you want to create like a picture of Taylor Swift playing a guitar on the mountain while wearing I don't know, a Snuggie, well, then you could do that in things like Grok, which allows you to replicate images from famous people. Whereas most of these, they won't do that. They're not very good at that. But if you want to create, a picnic scene in a park in Adelaide with no people in springtime, that will give you something which is a bit nicer because we're taking the people out of the equation. The other little trick you can do there too is to ask it to not show the faces. So you just go a photo of a family enjoying a picnic in a park on a springtime day in Adelaide, facing away from the camera. That way it won't then show you this. So this could be in Adelaide, could be in many, many different places. But now you're starting to see much nicer photos coming through. Like, some of it's very dreamy liking. I don't think you're gonna see a lot of cherry blossoms in the Adelaide Park. But this could be in a park in Adelaide. It could be. Any of these could be. Really, really clearly looks like a park with eucalypt style trees that kind of look like they're in Australia. You can also then do graphics like we did, but videos is also a fun one. So I can say a time lapse of a sunset over Mindle Beach in Darwin, Australia. So let's see what that's going to do. Now, this is very, very experimental. You only get 50 of these a month for the videos, but they are fun to use if you want to have some kind of video that's being a little different. Now, this is going to take 1 to 2 minutes to generate. So what we're going to do is pop away and start looking at some of the other things that are in this feature. We'll come back and have a look. So there's now a bunch of premium templates you all know about. Another couple of thousand of those were released in October. This little feature here, type lettering, is a really interesting way of taking letters and words that are in your designs. So let's say use it in a new design. Let's just say it's in a Instagram post. It allows you to play around with the text. So you're not just doing regular text, you're doing fun text, you're doing fun effects with that text. So a lot of them is already in place. They've got a whole lot of these new ones. So instead of saying, oh my days, we can then change that to on sale tomorrow. And then you've got your on sale tomorrow. You can add that to your design and in it goes. So if I want to put that in, put a background of that of some other color, that teal is pretty good, but I'm going to go with like a light pink. So we'll take our graphic, up it goes. I can make that bigger by just stretching it out further, stretching this one down further. And then I've got a bit bigger of a scene there. So that's pretty cool. We now play with a lot of these different types of text. So we've got a lot more flexibility with the kind of things we want to do. If I go back again and try another lot of text, let's try it in a new design again. Again, we'll do it in a an Instagram post. And we can start to play with, let's have a look. Now, notice that none of this is requiring you to necessarily be a subscriber. So you don't really, like, you don't need to pay for this stuff. This stuff is included as part of an app. This one's saying print isn't dead. I can say, we are still here. And you can put backgrounds. Now, unfortunately, you can't customize that background because it's actually just built into that template. That's pretty cool. I can then make that background a different color if I want to. Let's see the preview. If I make it into, say, a blue, you can see that background changing, or a pink. I tend to lean towards pink. It's my favorite color. There you go. Red. So you can change any color you like, add that to your design, and off you go. And you can drop those in and out of different designs. So that one is called type lettering. So if you go to, if you just type in anywhere, like you type in the search for type lettering, or you can search apps, and you'll be able to find these different kinds of things. As you can see, once we get into all these different apps, you've got type cutout. So you can make fill text with striking background images. Let's have a look at what that looks like. So this is where, for instance, you can have a background where you like, and then you create a background, you create the background yourself. And this is exactly what we couldn't do in the example I just showed you. So let's have a look at this. So we've got the good time. It's going to bring the type cutout app in. And this is what the power of Canva is open up all these different apps for people. So we've got good vibes over here. So what I can do is choose a background image. So I can load up a different background image that I've got from somewhere else. Let's see if I can find one. What have I downloaded lately that I could use? I got a photo of the team from Hanuman. Okay, let's use that. So it's going to put the photo of the team from Hanuman in the background here. And then if I might want to change maybe my background image to something, my background color to something else, I can edit the image. I can sort of rotate it and scale it a bit so it shows a bit more. So you can see what I'm doing there. I can scale that up so it goes a bit more brighter. It shows a few more of those faces. There you go, finish editing. And now it sort of shows out that little bit more. Let's add it to the design, pull it out. There we go. And if I really wanted to be clever, what I could do now is go to my uploads, upload that image, put it in the background, and then put that back, so position backwards, and just line that up so then feels like it's the same size, not quite. Let's go a bit bigger. Got a bit of a Frankenstein effect going on, but we'll get there. Nearly there. That seems like it's going to be just about right. There we go. So go backwards again. Position, backward. I think I just went over the top of the other effect. That's how much it was matched up. It actually cannot read it now. So if I now go to my good times and edit that, that's why you can't read it. Because look, I take that out and you can see good vibes is still there. So I can sort of offset it a little bit. That way it won't look like it's matching up quite enough. So you can play with that with a whole bunch of little different effects. But it's a really good way of you putting any sort of pattern in there that you want to put in. So I could pull in a gradient. So I can type in gradient to my elements, bring in maybe a photo of, that's a nice gradient. Let's drop that in. That will fill the whole thing. But if I go to the back of the whole thing, position it backwards, then I've got a really nice effect. I can also then pull down some of these things. So I can't download these ones. What I can do is create my own graphics and then put them in the background of that particular app as well. So it gives us something really fun to play with. Now, I reckon our video is probably now designed. Let's have a look. All right, so let's have a look at this video. I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger. It's using the runway generator. There we go. That is pretty cool. Like it's a little, very, very short loop, but it'd be nice to have as a background to something you're doing, particularly a presentation or something. So it's not a great long video. What it has given us is a little bit of something to work with. It's a bit more dynamic than what we otherwise would use. So you can generate all sorts of things. What again, I find it's not great with people, but really good with landscapes, with objects, those kind of things. You could show a bottle of milk spinning around or something like that. Anything that you need that's really a little bit generalized when it comes to generated content. Type Extrude is another one of these great little tools that's just appeared, which allows us now to then add a whole lot more depth to text. So let's have a look at this in a new design. We'll go back to a presentation again, because I find that's a really nice, wide, easy way to see it. So we're going to do our presentation. And again, it gives us this control box on the left-hand side. So this one's saying today, I'm going to change this one to say Canva Pro. So in Canva Pro, it's using the Pataya font. I can change that font to whatever I like, but Pataya is fine for now, just for an example. And then I can change the colors that I want to use on that. Now, I can always at any point then pop out and get a background for this. So what I'm going to do is just grab an element, grab that same background I got before, go back down to my Type Extrude tool, which is down the bottom here. So this is also a place where as you're using your apps, the most recent ones will appear down here as well. So if I want the outline thickness to be about that extrude angle, I might want to have that like maybe a bit darker, maybe a solid black on this kind of background. I can change the angle of how it appears. So as I'm changing that, the preview will start to appear as well. So let's change that a little bit more. So see how it's changing where that is starting to appear. There we go. I'll pull it back to where it was. It's around about there. I can make that thickness even bigger. And the length of the extrusion, let's I can make it stick right out. So it's got that whole retro vibe about it. Let's add that to our design and see we can then start to create all these different effects, which are a lot more fun in our Canva presentations and different graphics. So what you've done there is basically used a free app inside. That one's a free one, so you don't need to pay for that app. That one's included. Wow, with so many different little tools you can do. Text Maker is very, very similar, allows you to make certain texts out of certain shapes and different backgrounds. We've looked at designing with diversity through Stock, and Disney is what we want to have a look at now. So with Disney, it's basically given us access to a whole bunch of different Disney elements to use and different Disney templates. Now, they are templates, not just elements. So they don't necessarily want you to be taking these elements out and putting them into other things, but you still can, right? So I wouldn't put this stuff on your website though. This is mainly for social media graphics, for design cards and that sort of thing. So please don't put them on your website, because they're not covered for the copyright on site of a website, because you're misrepresenting Disney and we don't have the copyright to be able to use that on websites. But on social media, it's fine. They've been licensed for use there. So a lot of this is frozen. So we're seeing nothing but frozen pretty much. Maybe because we're approaching Christmas. Moana, there you go. So we've got Moana. So I'll just go have a look at Moana because I think she's awesome. And it allows you to then print stuff. So the whole idea is to create things that you can print. Now, I think if we do a little bit of cheating here, if I open up another Canva window, I might be able to create another Instagram post and pull out. Now, it's exactly here. It's giving you the guidelines which you can and can't use. You can print them, you can use for personal education, or you can't use them for commercial purposes. And you can only use the content provided in the template. You can't then add extra elements into it. So that's what they're saying now. Doesn't mean you can't literally add things in. You can add in whatever you like, but what they're saying is they want things to basically be only used that are already in there. I can pull Moana out and put her into here if I really want to. Just copy, paste, and I can do it. What they're saying is they don't want you to do that. I can probably put, a picture of Darwin City in the background there. You're not really meant to, but there's nothing that's really going to be stopping you from doing this. You can still do it. All right. So what you're doing is probably just messing with some copyright. I don't know if anyone's coming and chasing us over that, but it's not really worth the trouble because otherwise you don't want to be able to be kicked off Canva, but also slapped with a nice little copyright lawsuit as well. So that's a little bit of Disney stuff. It's mainly really for your use to be printing, to be sending as invitations, that kind of thing. Lots and lots of stuff in there. Little Mermaids in there, Sleeping Beauty. Oh my goodness, it's pretty endless what's in there. So you've got a lot of those different Disney characters in there as well. It's a lot of fun. So if you're not a Disney fan and you want to try some other stuff, that's okay because there's a new whiteboards feature. So whiteboards allow you to create a whole bunch of collaborative workspaces. If you've ever used something like Miro, you'd kind of know what I mean by these interactive whiteboards. They allow you to do things and then have people react to them in the same time. Now, this is only really useful if you've got a Teams account. You can use the whiteboards yourself. You can share them with other people, but other people reacting to them and interacting with them is where you have to have a Teams account. So I'm not going to go too heavily into that. What I will look at, though, is some of the latest features in presentations. So presentations, for instance, be like I was starting off this very webinar with, which was the ability to be able to do a presentation on Canva. Look, this is the presentation I was working through before. It's in Canva as well, right? Each different slide's in Canva. Well, what we can now do with presentations is insert polls and quizzes. So this allows us to, have a poll in there that people can answer. So you can send that presentation out and people can do it. Now it gives you how to complete it in the presentation. So you click on the poll, select edit, and then fill in option D, and that's it. So what we can do is click on edit. It gives us a little chart over here. So we can go, ready to go, full of opinions hanging in there, want to go home. Might be the position. It's a Monday. Everyone wants to go home already. So we've got that one in there. And then what we can do is present that. So let me just present it on the main screen. And we can go through and see those results. So what the idea is here, it's not an interactive poll. What it is, it's, say for instance, a presentation of the results of a poll you may have taken. So it's just a really nice, neat, clean way of doing it. It's not an interactive poll. It's not like putting a poll out on LinkedIn or Facebook or something like that. This is just a results of a poll. Just a really nice way for you to display that. I like that. I think that's going to be great. And for me to present statistics that are coming in from some of the research I run, that will be particularly useful. The charts, however, this is where I think there's a bit of power because in charts, you get the ability to actually put in these really good graphs. So it's just telling us, yeah, this is a new feature. And it tells you when you use these the first time, a bunch of tips to be able to use it. So you go to the chart and design. So I just tip on the chart and then it gives me an edit button. And in the edit, I can change the labeling. I can put data labels in there as well, which then, let me just get rid of this help screen. I don't really need it. Go on, go away, buddy. There we go. I can see the data in there. See how I do that? It actually interacts. So I can then show that when I'm live on a presentation and show what the results were. And it will show you exactly where those results are. This is then got there all the different changes you can make. So for instance, I could put a dark green in there for all those different colors that are in use in the chart. But mainly what I want to do, let's go back on there again and edit. I can, have a legend of what the results mean. I can put the totals in there as well. But what I really want to do is show you the data. This is where the data has actually gone in, and you can upload a Google Sheet or a Excel spreadsheet that contains all your data, and it will complete all this in here with what you need. So if I cleared that data and was able to then go and get more, so for instance, if I expand that data table, it gives me a bit more room to play with. I can make changes in any of these fields, just like in a spreadsheet. But what I can also do is upload that data from somewhere else, because the chances are your data is going to come from Excel or Google Sheets or something like that, and you can load those up. So it gives you a chance, like a CSV file, for instance, to load those things up and then show that kind of data in a very visual way. It's going to cut down the time to creating your presentations quite a great deal when it comes to presenting facts and presenting figures. Not all of us need to do that very often. I do it quite a lot, but that could be a real shortcut for you. Now, this isn't the only way where charts are. Like, for instance, charts have existed in Canva for quite some time. If you go to Elements and go to Charts, there's a bunch of charts that have already been there. So, for instance, you've got these ones here, and there's a whole bunch of them. For instance, if I want to show a bunch of people and I want to show, let's go Edit, and I want there to be a total of 100 people in there. So it's going to show me 100. I might need to pull this across and fit them all in. Come on. There we go. There's 100. Might make it a bit bigger too. About some more space. And what I'm trying to show is that there's maybe, 70 out of every 100. So I'm going to fill 70 of them. And I'm going to make those colors a little bit more obvious. So let's change the colors here. There you go. So I want to show that there's 70 out of 100 people said a certain thing. So I add a bit of text in there. 70 out of 100 people choose Oral-B toothbrushes. Maybe, probably not. There we go. So that's somewhere where I can do some visual creation of some charts. If it's not the people, I can then create another chart. I quite like these ones. Like this sort of chart is really cool. So I can then go, okay, what am I showing in this chart? I want to show, again, the darker color, so it's a bit more obvious. Go and edit. And I can go, the percentage is now 70. There we go. So I can then make that change. Now, also in that editing, notice I can then add my percentage label. So it's a lot more there. And I can round those points so it looks a little bit friendlier and soft. And then I've got a bit more of a presentation style that I'm more comfortable with, because that's more my style. I like rounded ends and I like showing the data. So the charts have always been there. They're just a bit more sophisticated now, and they can do a lot more. And there's lots of different charts, the plot graphs, the scatter graphs, the bar graphs, the iceberg graphs, funnel graphs, bar charts, these ones, which I can't remember what they're called. What is it called? It's like a group chart. So you can go into each section and then highlight it and go back. These are pretty cool. So if you're doing an interactive presentation, so let's say, for instance, if I was doing this, let's get rid of all that background stuff. We don't need that. Make it a little bit bigger on the screen. And if I'm presenting this live to people, so let's present it live to you. These are now all clickable. I can go into subgroup 3, and there might be information in there or an image. Kind of like the old Prezi presentations. They gave you a little bit of dynamics and a bit of interactivity, which allowed for something to be a lot more engaging for people to watch, not just a boring chart from a boring presentation from PowerPoint. So definitely the presentation side of what Canva is doing is really, really powerful right now. You can now add, and this is what I've really, really enjoyed doing with a lot more of my presentations. I'm not going to do this presentation. I think it's a bit naff. I'm just going to do it in another new presentation. So I'm going to go open a new window, go into Canva, start a new design. I'm going to call it a presentation. Let's make it just a blank one. It's fine. And I'm going to just create a few different things in here. Let's create, I don't know, pitch deck. So I'll create that one, apply all 10 pages. So it's giving me all 10 pages of my pitch deck. What I want to do, though, is I want to make things appear when I present them in a certain way. Now, at the moment, I've got the pan animation, but there's more animations available. The new ones include the rotate, which is a bit horrid, flicker, which I don't particularly like. Then you got Succession, which is a fairly new one. Blur. So you got some nice new ones coming in. What we've also got now is create different animations. So we can then select and drag an element around the canvas to create that animation. So if I'm going to go animation, create, and then I'm going to remove that animation and create one. Now, you know, this is all with words. It gives you a whole lot of other different ones. So you've got blocks, you've got bursts, merge, bounce. One of the other ones that I think came up, it's not showing there now because it's only for certain things. If I go the page animation, I get a little bit more on. So I've got the party version of it, sleek, fun. So these are combinations that will show you all the options on that particular page you can do. So tectonic is like a slow motion. Tumble is where everything comes in. Stomp is like a bit more dramatic. It gives you animations across the board, like everything on there. Now, one of the things I'll do, for instance, if I bring in an image, images do give you a few more options for these different ones, like photo flow, which will make the image flow or rise. It's just slowly rising there, zooming in as well. So it gives you some really nice ones. Pulse, you don't probably want that. The jiggle or the wiggle, don't really want that either. But things like Succession and Blur are the ones that I use quite often. The ones I really do like. There are a few others, but they seem to have like removed a lot of them. So they were in here, when I last was in here yesterday, and they seem to have gone again. So they're testing a lot of stuff out. I'm not sort of sure whether they are removing them completely or whether they got, they're still playing around with them. But the animation effects, let's go into their test ground. Let's see if we can make some of those animation effects work again. So the Magic 8 Ball, if I click on it, to highlight that's the thing that I want to animate. I'll then go into the animate, and I've got those page animations, which is going to take care of everything, but I don't want that. I just want this, right? Animate the photo. Now, this is where we come in. It's got now, I don't know if you can see it. They're very subtle, some of these. Got ink, got digital. So they're very, very subtle, some of these. So it might take you a little bit of time to kind of work out what's going on. I should be able to animate some of the text as well. So I go, this is the regular animation, so I can go spread. But it's really photos where you got the most control. So let's just say if I put in a photo of mountains, let's go that one, pop it in. And if I want this when it appears to have a special animated effect on it, say brush. So it looks like I'm brushing it, ink, digital, spray paint, sketch, or a gradient, which I really like the gradient effect. I think it's really nice. What I can do is with the gradient effect is change to be blocks that come in as a gradient, lines, or the circular one, which is actually my favorite one. So if I now keep that animation in place, when I go to present this one, so let's start off with the Magic 8 Ball presentation. So yeah, it's going to last 4 seconds. I've kind of horrified those texts, but I come into here, you got that really nice presentation of that image coming in. Just subtle, really nice. Now, if you were making this into a video, you could also hover between these two scenes here, and you've got a transition in here. So that transition can be, I usually use flow. I think flow is a really nice one. So I'm going to try that. And let's see what that does to the animation, because in the past, it used to cut the animation out. So let's go 3, 2, 1. I did the flow, but it removed the animation in that photo. So that's the one thing you might do is take that animation out, because you kind of got your transition, sorry, because you've already got a transition of sorts in there already. Come on, let's go. Take that one out, none. And because I've got that animation in place, it should now do it just fine. There you go. So that might be a nicer, smoother way of doing a transition. And that's a really good tip for doing videos as well. So I know we're covering a lot of ground here because there's so much stuff that's been added in here. I think the other thing is to really add is that there's now some popular music that you can add into your videos. One note before we do that though, that doesn't mean you can now use popular songs on Instagram to go with your stories and with your reels. if you don't have the rights to that music, because Instagram and Facebook, they'll cut that music out, and YouTube will probably take down your video if you're using these songs. This is more for your own use in things like presentations, in-house stuff, sending to friends, but not for ads, certainly not for ads on social media, certainly not for ads on Google, anything like that. This is just more for your use to say, let's just make an Instagram post anyway, but we're not going to post it. But I'll give you an example of what we can do. So for instance, let's put in, today's reminder. So I put that video in. It's a country and Western style. What I'm going to use is a bit of music from a guy called Benson Boone. So in here, is there any music? It doesn't look like there is. So I'm going to add some audio. So what I'm going to do here is go Benson Boone, who's current hit maker. Beautiful Things is one of his songs. So I can add that in now, and it's now part of the soundtrack of this particular design. So I can keep adding in more and more scenes for this. So start off with that one, add a new one, add a new one. And so you see it's growing the length of the soundtrack as well. Now, I don't know if you're going to be able to hear this through here, but if I was to play back this particular 30-second thing. For a while there it was rough, but lately I've been doing better. So that's actually the real song from Benson Boone. You can pick up all sorts of songs. So Benson Boone was just an example I used. I could put in there Rihanna, pull out a song of hers. So where do we go? Not all of it's actually hers. Who's that chick? Stay originally before. There's a lot of cover songs in here. Boom Boom featuring Rihanna. So a lot of things from Universal Music Group are not included in there, but some of them are. So things like David Guetta. As I said, Taylor Swift is definitely not in there. I could probably say One Direction because they're a pretty hot topic right now for all the wrong reasons. There we go. So there's One Direction are in there. So we can put in a bit of One Direction. Again, I don't know whether you can hear this, but let's have a go. That was Benson Boone again. Sorry. We're looking for One Direction. Get rid of you. Put the boys in here and let's start again. So that's playing their first big hit was What Makes You Beautiful. So they've got a whole bunch of stuff in there. You just got to make sure that you're not using it in a way that's going to get you sort of pinged on Facebook and Instagram. They won't ban you or anything. What they'll do, they'll just mute out the music because they don't have the rights to use that music on their platforms. It might be a good way of you to get around it though, because I know in personal profiles on Instagram, you can actually post things with popular music that's built into the platform. But I know that in business profiles, you can't. Now, I'm not going to say that you should or that you shouldn't, but you could give it a try and see if it works in there. Like I said, the worst that's going to happen is they're going to say, hey, you can't do that, but they're not going to ban you for it. So that's something you can do. Now, you can set up professional audio in your audio settings for Canva. So that allows me then to come out from different places, but I don't really need to do that right now because that's more of a Mac thing. Where else do we go? Wow. You're probably like totally exhausted by the amount of stuff that's in here. We've generate stuff. What you can also do is generate documents now. So we can go a document, go that I want to do just a doc, an auto-sized document. I could now use magic writing in here, which allows me to now write things. So what I want to do is create a LinkedIn post about the value of connecting with your audience in real life before attempting to connect with them online. And this is going to do the same of what your friends at ChatGPT would do. Now it starts, in today's digital age, so it's using very clearly, it's using ChatGPT as its generator. We can say, look, it's good. I want to say this, but less like an AI generated it and more informal. So it's going to do that again. Okay, in this tech savvy world, I hate how it starts out by doing that. Ugh, it's really, really annoying. So yeah, in its tech savvy world, I can say this, but don't start off with a reference to this world in today's fast-paced environment. I can say don't use the word today's, this, but don't use the term today's. because that's me like, playing with it because I just got a personal preference against that stuff in a fast-paced environment. Oh my gosh, it really wants to do that because it's using basically the cheap version of ChatGPT, which does throw a lot of that sort of stuff up. So yeah, you'll know if this not it's not much that's inappropriate. It's just not good. I can insert that into my document and then I can sort of play with it a bit more. So I can say straight off instead of saying in a fast-paced environment, I might just say, I'm just going to say it's easy to rely on solely on online communication when you're a business owner. And what I can now do is now generate an image. So I can go instead of Magic Write, I can then start and go into something else. So I can put on all these different things. What I basically want to do is to maybe put in I don't know, maybe an image. So I can go into my Magic Media again, generate an image of a business owner outside her apothecary store in a village. Let's see what it does. And then I can pretty much just generate all these sort of things in here to create things like my social media posts. Now, of course, you're going to be having problems here with things like, American spelling. So you can tell it, in there in the magic right to not use American spelling. So here we go, the apothecary store. This is a really nice one. Let's just use her. It hasn't messed up her face like the other ones have. That's actually a relatively normal face. This one, yeah, also really cool. Love that. So yeah, it's doing a lot better when it's not trying to show families and kids in parks, I guess. But yeah, that's a really, really nice tool. And that's basically giving you something which you can go, okay, my social media manager, this is what I'm looking for. And this is what I think you need to do is rather than using this, copying and pasting it, I just got to do that spelling correction. It's just doing my head in. But rather than just copying and pasting this straight into your social media and going, this is my image, you can say this to a person who's doing your social media for you. This is the information I want, but make it more friendly, make it a bit more in our voice. And this is the kind of photo I'm looking for. If you can find something that's a bit more like that, that's when you start to get like really professional responses. You're using AI, especially in Canva, not to do the work, but to speed up the work. And that's what you do with all AI tools, really. Who would have known that that little Instagram post creator from 10 years ago, or however long ago it was that Canva popped out, and now turned into all this? It's now a full editor for text, for images. You can create spreadsheets in here now. It's got a full documents creator world in there that we probably didn't know was there in the first place. And it's all because they've now really embraced, I guess, the power of AI. They've embraced the power of bringing things together into one tool that we think that might be useful in multiple different scenarios. So maybe this is possible for you to not necessarily require 15 different tools, but maybe Canva's a one tool that you could use. You can do all of these things. That's a pretty nice document. That's a really nice image. I think we could work with that. Now, is the fingers they're starting to get a little bit funny in there, those fingers? Maybe. Look, you blink and you miss it. From a distance, doesn't look quite so bad. Like I said, Canva image generation, not the best with people. So if you can kind of avoid people, it might be a bit easier for you to do. And worst comes to worst, you can always insert Moana in on top of that. I don't know whether she'd fit in there. There you go. You can put Moana in on top of it, and then everything's so much better. So that, my friends, is a look at Canva's new features and some of the old features they've had a bit of an update over the last month as well. It's a chance for you to have a bit of a poke around. What I would say is if you've never had Canva Pro before, you can sign up for a new account and get, I think it's 30 days of free use of Pro. Have a poke around, see what you do with it, see if this is something which can kind of take over your other AI tool use. Play with some of those generation ideas, play with some of the new features, or if anything, just really enjoy the access to more images, more videos, and more features and all these different transitions and animations that really will bring your content creation to life. It's far more than just an Instagram post maker. You can do a whole lot more as well. So please do enjoy it.